Welcome to Flourish, where we explore how to nurture, coach, and inspire the children we love at any age to let their genius blossom. I'm your host, Diane Planadin, and today's episode is about tacit knowledge. Yes, that invisible field that we all possess. Tacit knowledge is literally learning by doing and then never forgetting how to do it. You and your brain are hardwired and have the knowledge ingrained in you. How do you accomplish this, you say? With baby steps, of course. I wanted to talk about tacit knowledge today as a segue from last week's episode on learning something new. The really neat thing about mastering a skill by doing is that once you know, you never forget. And that is truly amazing. There are many courses I have taken throughout the years that you should never stop learning. But some of them, I'm going to have to admit, I can honestly say I've definitely forgotten some of the content, if not all of it. Another example I gave in the last episode was riding a bicycle. Once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you never forget. And that is tacit knowledge. Then once you have that foundation of knowledge, you can build upon it and grow upon it and hone your craft or skill. And some people do take that to the extreme when riding a bike, and they'll do racing or they'll do the Tour de France, or there's just endless possibilities on continuing to master your craft. I'm going to let that sink in a minute. Really let it sink in a minute. Think about yourself. Think about what you've learned by simply doing, by not reading about it or studying it or looking at a manual, but just by doing it. And that's another reason we did a cooking show last week, because that is the best way to learn, is by doing it. And I love the cooking channels just like everybody else, and I love cookbooks like everybody else. But until you actually do it, you just don't know how. So it's personal experience. Personal experience gets you over the hump. And those things like cooking shows and cookbooks, they are guidelines. They are guidelines for you to get you started. But the act has to come from you, the individual. Why am I mentioning this now? Now with all the chaos going on in the world, all of the number of people that are in self-isolation, and it's abundant, and even those who do not have to quarantine themselves, we're all trying to stay out of each other's way right now, aren't we? For the good of the people and the good of the planet. So as a result, in the moment, if nothing else, people are looking for things to do. There's even people tweeting out there. The stay-at-home challenge. What are you doing while you stay at home? I absolutely love that. That's a great idea. So what are you doing? Do you have projects to complete? A honey-do list that never seems to get around to being finished? Are you maybe pulling out that book and finally reading it and, I don't know, learning a new language, sleeping in, having coffee in bed? Maybe you are struggling with technology and you've always wanted to set up your own website. You've always wanted to learn coding or something. I'm going to tell you, now's the time. Now's the time to hone your skills, keep your mind active, keep your body active, stay busy, And I don't mean a distracted busy, because the news is there to keep us informed and up to date, but we don't need a moment by moment replay, because then you'll become, well, it'll become scary. And scaremongering is no fun for anyone. That's why, again, on one of my followers' requests, I did the cooking show. Because some people are at home now going, I used to go out for breakfast every day or go through the drive-through on my way to school or work or running errands, whatever. Now you have the time. And if you can get a few staples in your pantry, you can get pretty darn creative. Learn something new or improve on the skills you already have. And here's a big and, or a big but if you want. Delete. Delete, delete, delete. Delete the distractions. Delete. And you will have the power of concentration. No distractions. It's far more beneficial for you for having some laser focus for 3 hours, 4 hours tops. You will be more highly productive by tuning out everything and just tuning into the task at hand, whatever that might be, than say you were ever at your 8-hour job with all these distractions, with phones going and TVs going and people going and drama going and gossip. You will have such laser focus if you can find the discipline. Yes, there's some discipline involved here to delete the distractions. It is going to be meaningful. There is, of course, SOS, not Morse code, the shiny object syndrome. Sometimes it's not so shiny. But I've been hearing from people this past week that they are getting overwhelmed and really fearful of the unknown. And this is when we all have to stick together. Because now those petty little events, that drama in the office, that gossip in the hallway, none of it matters, does it? Because we're pulling together. And that's why I thought tacit knowledge, well, that is something of interest, because you can only learn by doing and only yourself. So there's some really good opportunities here for all of us. You don't have to take my word for it. I have researched this extensively through the years, and there's numerous books, numerous articles, some scientific papers that I think only scientists can read, but in the big picture, this tacit knowledge, this information has been around for a long time. And I actually did read a paper that was published back in 2002 in the Australia Asian Journal for Information Systems. And I'm not going to read you the article, but I will paraphrase the summary of the article, because to read it verbatim is really, I don't think gets its message across as strongly to us, ordinary people. So here it goes. The article confirmed that tacit knowledge is a component, one piece of the pie, of knowledge that is widely held by individuals, but not able to be readily expressed. Interesting way of putting it. And I will expand. It is expertise, skill, and know-how, as opposed to knowledge that is taught to you, or codified knowledge as another term. Tacit knowledge is the personal knowledge resident within the mind, behavior, and perceptions of individuals. Perceptions of individuals. So your own perception. A lot of the times when I'm cooking, I just have a feeling for it. A feeling for the measurements, for example, because I've done it so many times to the point I just know. When you're working with dough, you can feel it. When you're cooking rice, I pour the water, I pour the rice, and I feel it, I know it, I see it, I've done it, because that's tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge includes skills, experience, insight, intuition, there it is, and your own personal judgment. The article goes on to say that tacit knowledge is typically shared through discussion, stories, analogies, and person-to-person interaction. Therefore, and this comes full circle, it is difficult to capture or represent in explicit form, say, like in a textbook. You can only learn this, gather this knowledge, take that information to knowledge, to wisdom, by doing. Here is the Macarena cool part. We as individuals continually add personal knowledge, which changes our behavior, which changes our perceptions. So tacit knowledge, by definition, is uncapped. It's unlimited. You have unlimited potential right at your fingertips. Wow, that is amazing when you really, really think about it. It's truly fascinating. As a contrast, I will give you an example of articulate knowledge. Knowledge that we gain from reading, formal education, writing, books, law, rules. Also very important, but very much more standardized. So I would love to see a combination of these two types of learning combined in the schools. I think that would be super exciting. And that's when I think you really see people excited to go to school, excited to go to work, excited to just be there for each other, whether right now virtually or in the future in person again. But tacit knowledge, well, that's a little bit more intimate way of learning. Your teacher, your educator, they are the ones with the knowledge, with the wisdom. And you are the student, the apprentice, learning from them, from their experience as you develop and hone your own skills. I think really our natural senses come more into play because we're more tactile. We touch things, we see things, we smell things. I mean, honestly, there's so many different professions I could give you examples of, but I'm going to keep it simple because in this modern day and age, as much as things change, they also kind of remain the same. In a nutshell, this article reaffirms the importance of learning by doing, by sharing your work, being cooperative, and passing on your knowledge to others so they can grow their own tacit knowledge. I'll give you a few examples that are probably a little bit more obvious in passing these on, in learning by this way, and those would be, in the arts, it's very apparent. There's understudies and there's maestros, and those people, in order to really master their craft, they have to work on it on their own, and they emulate what they've learned from the master. There are plumbers, electricians, welders. They all need to start out as apprentice. They don't go straight to journeyman. You have to learn your craft by doing, honestly getting out there. And you have to prove yourself. An apprentice doesn't move on until they prove themselves. And it's very, very important, very important. So let me give you a real life example. In the 1900s, there was a gentleman by the name of Michael Polanyi. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Based on his understandings, I think he was the first one that published that tacit knowing on the principle is that we can know more than we can tell. We can know more than we can tell. Is that not a concept that is fascinating to you? And taking the time right now to maybe learn something new? I think this is the prime time to really hone your skills at something. So when you're back to reality and you're back to the new norm, you can hit the ground running. So what is your stay-at-home challenge? What are you doing to stay entertained and keep building your mind, keep building your muscle? These are trying times for everybody around the globe. No one is sheltered for what's going on here. And we are all doing our part. We're all getting to doing our part to flatten the curve so that we can get back to normal. And I love how we're prioritizing our families. We're prioritizing what's really important and really understanding that the road ahead is uncharted, but everyone is in the same shoes, the same boat, the same path, and we will prevail. And I love that you have a stay-at-home challenge and just hone it. 2, 3, 4 hours a day. You have the time. It's just an amazing opportunity for us all. And since most schools are closed right now, it doesn't mean that you have to stop learning. It means you need to take charge. Take charge. Take charge of your life and your children and be their advocate. Do not let them just lollygag around and play video games all day. Keep a routine. Keep some structure. Keep learning. And I'm going to actually give you next week some tips, tricks, ideas, thoughts on how you can keep your children engaged, how you can keep the learning going, and how you can be a part of it. Because like I said, we're all in this together. You have some experience. You have some tacit knowledge. You are ready to share it. Share what you know positively, with gratitude. Live well, my friends. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about tacit knowledge and that we all have it. And nobody can ever take that away from you. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter how much money you make. Learn by doing. I am thankful, very thankful right now that so far my family is healthy. And we are really actually focusing hard on flattening the curve. We don't even gather together very much. There may be 4 of us in a room at a time. Not even a room, in a house at a time. And that's simply because we have to support each other. And I really would love to hear from you what your stay-at-home challenge is, what you're doing. Are you learning something new? Are you building your knowledge in these uncertain times? Are you reading that book you've always wanted to? As you stay at home, I want you to remember this. With information comes knowledge, and with knowledge comes wisdom, and with wisdom comes the responsibility to teach the next generation everything you know and let them learn. Don't do it all for them. Let them learn by doing. That's tacit knowledge. I'll see you next week.